Today I'm starting a job trying to improve hot water and heating efficiency in this semi-detached house. By the end of this video we want to answer some questions. Can this boiler efficiency be in any way improved? What changes are required to the existing central heating system in order to improve its efficiency? And the most important question, what lessons can you learn from this video to improve your own heating system and save on your fuel bills? So I have installed an overlay system, 25mm panels that insulates the floor, and we're gonna have one zone for underfloor heating on the ground floor and a second zone on the top two floors running on radiators. Not only that, we also gonna take this big radiator and change the radiators upstairs for bigger, just move them around. So the smaller radiator in a lounge upstairs will be replaced with a bigger radiator so we can run it at a lower temperature and higher efficiency. The lower the temperature we can run the system on, the higher the efficiency. And the larger the surface of your radiator or your heat emitter, the lower temperature you can run it at. And underfloor heating is by far the most efficient way of heating your home with gas boiler or with a heat pump, because your whole floor is one gigantic radiator. When it comes to heat only or system boilers, the questions you need to be asking are: can this boiler run hot water priority? Can this boiler run on two different outputs, one for hot water, one for central heating? Can this boiler do load compensation or weather compensation? The answer to all of these questions in this case is sadly no. In here we've got unvented cylinder, 233 liters on traditional S plan. So we know those setups are inherently inefficient because the boiler doesn't know if it's doing hot water or heating, and it has no chance of running any lower than 70 degrees flow for the rest of the house for the central heating. So what we're doing here, we're gonna actually be taking out both zone valves, taking out the pump, and we're gonna be splitting the system into underfloor heating, radiators and hot water, and running all three circuits at different temperatures and different outputs. We've also discovered a problem with the cylinder. The client has been complaining that they don't have enough hot water. That hot water doesn't last very long, which is kind of strange because with 200-liter cylinder you should be never running out of hot water. And what I've discovered is that if I turn the supply to the cylinder off, that valve right there, and that gate valve is the hot water outlet from the cylinder, we can turn it off as well. So with the inlet and outlet isolated, I shouldn't be getting any water coming from any hot water outlets. However, if you turn the hot water tap on, this happens. And I know some of you might be thinking, yes, there's an expansion vessel on the cylinder and will push some water out from the cylinder. Yes, that does happen, but we also isolated the outlet from the cylinder, so it shouldn't be happening at all. And on top of that, if you let that tap running, it never stops. So what it tells me is that cold water is mixing with hot somewhere at the property. So now we need to find a suitable boiler that can do hot water priority and run our system at two different outputs. In here, that's my manifold on 40 square meters. That pump won't stay here, I'll be moving it. I'll explain it later why. And I've been pressure testing it here with this pump. I think I found the culprit of all the hot water problems here. Let me show you. I'm just trying to drain the cylinder, so obviously if there's any cold water passing through hot, it will make its way to the cylinder. So I isolated the cylinder, and look what happens when I open the drain valve from the cylinder. Hear that? Passing cold water back through the hot. Dimitri has the toughest job now because he's been sent to remove all three of them without destroying the tiles, because they don't have enough tiles to make it good, Dimitri, right?
Yeah.
You enjoying it?
A lot.
A lot, yeah? So the boys have been installing double check valves on those douche units. Really, they need an air brake to be legal. Not my house, not my decision, so they are staying. Turn hot water on when it's isolated to the cylinder. No mixing whatsoever happening anymore. And in here we've got W200 pipe tap with Kimbo separation. So it's a mixture of what Kim would do and Angry Millward. They'll probably tell me I'm doing it all wrong. Why we're separating it? Because we've got underfloor heating and we've got radiators. So we're running underfloor heating on a mixed circuit controlled by the boiler, and then we've got another circuit for radiators. So when you've got two circuits run at different flow rates, you need to put some kind of separation. So on this one we are testing Kimbo's separation, which is just flow and return connected under the boiler. And obviously there we've got 4-pipe setup, 2 more pipes going to the cylinder. So I've got the boiler working now, but it took tremendous amount of effort and a lot of help from other installers. So Damon, Blakemore, how to pronounce your name correctly, thank you so much for your help. The reason being, I've got underfloor heating on a mixed circuit, so it blends flow and return to lower the temperature of water, and unmixed circuit on radiators on a pump. And I've got a separation here, closed coupled T's, so pumps don't pull on each other. So one pump circulates in a boiler and does hot water, another pump does underfloor heating, and yet another pump does radiators. To do that, however, I was told I'll need 2 modules, mixed and unmixed modules. Turns out I only need mixed module, but I have to wire my pump for central heating back to the boiler, and I also have to get a 10K sensor on a closed coupled T's and tell the boiler it has low loss header and it has a sensor. That's the only way on this W200 to make this system work. So if you ever come across it and you put closed coupled T's, you'll need a sensor and you'll have to wire it to the mixed MMX mixed module. Took a long time and a lot of phone calls to figure that out. So we're back to site now, and we've got this beautiful tiled floor, and we've got working underfloor heating, and the house now is split into 2 zones. Underfloor heating on the ground floor, on mixed circuit, and radiators that are upsized, or you could call them oversized, they just sized for a different flow temperature on floors above. And at the heart of this boiler we've got what is called advanced weather compensation, and that's probably the main reason to buy a boiler like a Viessmann W200. And the concept of it may be a bit alien to people who are used to control their heating with thermostats, because on this particular system we do not have thermostats, we do not have any room influence. We're gonna try to run it on weather compensation alone. So the way it's gonna operate is, we've got 2 heating curves, one heating curve for the ground floor with underfloor heating, and second heating curve for the radiators on the first and second floor. What we're trying to do is to set the boiler in a way that it only exchanges the heat lost. And also what we have here is underfloor heating manifold that does not have its own thermostatic controls. The boiler is controlling what is called a mixed circuit, a blending valve. And why is it important? On manifolds where you adjust the blending valve, once you set it, the underfloor heating stays on that temperature throughout the year. We want to avoid that. We actually want to modulate that temperature going to underfloor heating to gain extra efficiency. And we can do it by setting the curve for underfloor heating on the boiler itself. So the question you may have is, if we don't have a thermostat, or what is called a room influence here, how does the boiler know what the temperature inside is? The boiler doesn't know it. And it doesn't need to know it, because the whole idea is that we adjust the output of the boiler and the curve for our weather compensation, so it only exchanges the heat that we're losing in the building, it replaces it. It takes some experimentation and setting up. It's pretty hard to get it right first time. And it's a different system, and the boiler in theory should be staying much longer, so the burn times will be longer, and we're never gonna do anything like blasting the property with heat just to quickly bring it up to the temperature. That's not the idea of weather compensation. It is also worth mentioning that this boiler does not support open therm. You might be surprised that such an advanced and expensive boiler doesn't support open therm, but the reason behind it is quite simple. You buy that boiler for advanced weather compensation. You buy it specifically for that one feature. If you do not want to use advanced weather compensation, you probably want to buy a different boiler. That little interface on the boiler, I haven't seen anything as nice on any other boiler. It's touchscreen, it's not as responsive as your new iPad. It reminds me maybe early generation iPads, but still way better than any other manufacturers can provide. And it's great because I can see my flow temperatures for both circuits, my external temperature, radiator temperature, underfloor heating temperature, actual cylinder temperature and a set temperature. And probably the feature that I'm amazed most, apart for weather compensation, is the fact that you can set the temperature in the cylinder below 60 degrees. So you can heat up your cylinder to 50 degrees only and then set a Legionella cycle that will boost the temperature to 60 degrees. So you're not losing energy heating the water to higher temperatures than you need to, because 50 degrees is enough for your bath or your shower. So it can store the water at 10 degrees lower to what you would have to do on S-Plan or any other hot water priority systems like Intergas that I've been working with so far. So Viessmann in UK does something that I don't think I've seen any other company do. They've got the top of the range product that no other product even comes close to, and at the same time they provide one of the worst possible customers and installer experience I've ever seen. I mean, it's something, I don't know how you achieve that. So just to give you some idea of the issues you have to go through when you install one of those boilers. So you take your boiler out of the box, you put it on the wall, then you open your flue, and there's a little note in the flue saying, oh, you need to install your boiler at a different height because we changed the flue. So you have to take the boiler off the wall and move your bracket. Not the end of the world, but that note could have been inside the boiler, not the flue, because not everyone opens those two boxes at the same time. When I had some issues, I was directed to my sales rep, so I called the number I was given by Viessmann just to get a voicemail that said, I'm on holidays and when I come back I will no longer work for Viessmann. That's a bit strange, right? If you ring technical support of Viessmann, let's say 3 times for the same issue, you are guaranteed to get 3 different answers that are usually contradicting each other. So in the end, to resolve any issues, it's best if you can find the person who went through that struggle before you, usually another installer that you know, who will get you out of that trouble, or you have to figure it out yourself. That's just the way this system operates. So dealing with Viessmann is frustrating at times, and unfortunately you will have to deal with them if you install those boilers, because manuals don't always make sense either, and those appliances are more complicated than your regular boilers from other companies. They can do way more than other boilers, but obviously that makes them more complicated, more difficult to install. So because I was really puzzled with this disconnect between an amazing product and a terrible installation experience, I decided to dig a little bit deeper. And by contacting a private investigator in Germany, I managed to unearth this tape. Have a watch.
Wie geht's, Felix? Ah, Karl, ich bin okay. Congratulations on 1 million Vitola boiler result. You look not so happy. Was ist lost, Felix? The boss wants us to sell the boiler to the British. Nein, we cannot sell the boiler to the British. The boss says the European brothers now. They need to stop using carbon to heat their homes eventually. But the British will connect the boiler to a loft sludge bucket, and the boiler and the Viessmann reputation will be kaput. We cannot disobey the boss. We have to sell the boiler to the British, but we can make sure they'll never be able to install it. How do we do that? We will let them translate the manuals themselves. We all know only the Queen knows the German and she loves her Patron Suprema. She'll never help Viessmann. Das ist eine gute idea. But the British may still buy too many Viessmann boilers. German quality is a strong selling point. We'll change the part numbers every week and always send half the order. Only the bravest of the brave will be able to install the boiler. Oh, das ist good, sehr gut. You have a bright future at this company, mein Kumpel.
Hopefully now that we know the full story, things can improve. So if you own a Viessmann product or if you're an installer, I'm really curious about your own experience with the company and with the boiler itself. Good and bad, yeah. Leave your comment below and let's see what your experience with the Viessmann has been.